Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Sana Maqbool, with you at PTV World. This is, of course, an important show today. We're discussing what is going on with Russia and the Ukrainian crisis, something that we have talked about at length with reference to, of course, different countries and their role as a mediator in this regard. And now there's, of course, Turkey, whose interaction as a mediator has come into play. Earlier, we were also looking at discussions of various other countries also. Right, and this is, of course, something that remains to be seen. But, of course, as always, Pakistan only favors dialogue and has always talked about that as the peaceful solution. We'll move on to our second segment. Our guests have joined us online. Javed Judoon Saab, the political analyst, has joined us online. Thank you very much, Mr. Javed, for being with us. And Arif Chaudhry, who's a legal expert, has also joined us in the debate. Welcome to the show. When we talk about what is going on in terms of the political scenario within Pakistan, there's, of course, a lot of talk about what's happening, what's going to happen, and there's a lot of speculation going on as well. And perhaps it'll be important for us to also dissect it and make it clear for our viewers what really is going on and what are the options in the table, on the table in terms of whatever future scenarios are possible. But a simple question first to you, Javed Saab. Is the government in trouble?
Obviously, first of all, thank you very much. Obviously, government seems to be in trouble in the sense that no confidence motion has been moved against a sitting prime minister. And of course, the opposition, which has been trying to put together the required number of parliamentarians or MNAs to de-seat the prime minister, must have worked very hard and seems to be following a certain strategy as well. And because of the fissures inside the PTI as well, which is a very dangerous sign that party is not really cohesive. There are problems inside the political party, and I think that is the biggest threat which PTI or the Prime Minister Imran Khan faces today, because it is not the threat without, which is more important, but the threat within, which is in the sense that certain disgruntled elements within the PTI ranks, the members of the National Assembly and the Provincial Assembly, they are posing a huge challenge to the Prime Minister, because opposition gets emboldened in the sense that they believe that when there are insiders trying to dislodge the prime minister, then I think they do have a chance. They smell blood, and now I think they are really moving forward with kind of impeccable strategy. This seems to be the case right now.
Right, and when we talk about the number of votes that the opposition seems to be talking about, with, of course, with reference to the no confidence motion, it's quite a high number. Do you think that they actually have that support? Because, of course, as you mentioned, there needs to be support from within the ranks of PTI itself for that number to actually be achieved. But there's also the stance coming in from the government that the government and its allies stand united.
That's a $1 million question, because I think it is still got a long way to go, and government does have the advantage. It has the government machinery at its hands, and they can speak with the disgruntled elements within the PTI. And this is, I think, exactly what the Prime Minister is doing right now. He has gone to meet the allies in Karachi. He has already met the allies in the farm of Pakistan Muslim League Q. And certainly he is looking forward, and definitely I think he has shown certain kind of softness towards the advice coming from some of the saner elements inside the political party itself, that Prime Minister has to reach out to those who are little probably they feel aggrieved, and they have got certain concerns or certain reservations about certain issues or policies, or maybe some of the elements are really not in favor of continuing with the Chief Minister in Punjab. And as per media reports, I think Prime Minister right now would be looking forward to sort of sort out the differences within. And then I think he can have a strategy. And still, I believe that it is a very long way to go. A government can definitely turn the tables on the opposition if Prime Minister plays shrewdly, instead of getting emotional and getting angry and addressing the jalsas and targeting the opposition, because this is what opposition wants the Prime Minister to be, in anger and make hasty decisions, and the decisions which are going to harm the party and the Prime Minister as well. So this is about time that Prime Minister realizes that he has to be shrewd, he has to follow a certain strategy, and instead of issuing very angry statements. I think he should go and resolve the issue and nip the evil from the bud. I think that would be the right strategy, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, Arif Chaudhry Sahab, I just wanted to come towards you, sir. We just
All
wanted to
right, and
know
that's one
what does
aspect, of course. Mr. Arif, what do you think are the legal options for the government at this moment, at this point?
I don't think there are any legal options, as I have heard on TV that someone is advising them that they can play with the 63A of the Constitution of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, which mandates that in case of a defection from the party, the party head can de-seat the member. And many of them are advising that, those who belong to the government, their votes should not be counted. It is not possible because, once a motion for no confidence is moved, as practically, I think the Prime Minister loses a very big option, and that is dissolution of the assembly, which he could advise prior in time when there was no motion like that. But after that, if you're talking about 63A, 63 can only come into play once they do such an act. Such an act means they appear in the assembly and they vote against the Prime Minister. After that, there is a modus operandi, there is methodology which they can adopt. For that, the Prime Minister will, write to the Speaker, and then Speaker will, everything has its process, and at the end of the day, it is this a final say of the Supreme Court, through Election Commission. So it's not that, as easy that, people appear in the assembly and they belong to PTI and they are defecting their own party, and the speaker says no, we are not going to accept, count your votes, because it is not within the competence of the speaker at that point in time to count or discount any vote on this ground. But once the motion is passed, is carried out, with the number of votes like 172, the Prime Minister ceases to be the Prime Minister. He is no more the Prime Minister. And whatever follow, that is, afterward, but it takes time. Even if they are de-seated, it's not going to create a big difference for the opposition and are those who are opposing the government or the Prime Minister. They get their purpose solved. So I don't think that options are there as far as legal perspectives are concerned. However, as Mr. Jadoon has mentioned, it is nerves game. And, Prime Minister has to show, not to show muscles, he has to show nerves. And, he has to show resilience and, forbearance. Instead of naming anybody, calling name of the opposition leaders, because it shows that the Prime Minister inwardly is shaken. That's why, he is talking in such a, tone, and, he is calling their names and, threatening all these, and particularly these words, as a student of law, I think these are very offensive when you say that, someone is on my target, and, that guy is going to be, I'm not going to, let him go away, or, let him go as scot-free, because he is the head of the government right now. And once he is the head of the government, he has everything to offer and to the opposition, because he has to save his seat, he has to save his party, and he has to save the government and the country as well, because all other options, if you are talking about illegal options, such as discounting those votes, those who are, committing defection, if you discount or you create any hindrance on the way of smooth administration, and you don't let people go in the assembly by any illegal means, so that is not going to be, augur well, and it's not going to create good results, because at the end of the day, it is the government, it is the Prime Minister who is going to be held responsible for such a fiasco or such a situation. So I think, the advisors, so far they have never been able to give a proper advice to the Prime Minister. That whenever it was, bad time, they always were looking for what Prime Minister wants. Instead of looking what Prime Minister wants, they should have advised what Prime Minister should do and what is advisable in a particular at a particular point of time. That is the job of a real good, associate or real good, crony or minister or advisor. That he should advise him properly, sir. This is the time that you have to take this step, and if you don't take this step, if you go other way around, it's going to harm you. So I think there is none who is, calling.
Chaudhry Saab, I'll go towards Junoon Saab. Junoon Saab, I just wanted to know, we know for the fact that 172 is the number which is required by the opposition party to, of course, get a success in the parliament. But, earlier, of course, we are talking about Prime Minister Imran Khan being head of PTI. He can, simply with his party abstain from voting inside the parliament. Can we say that if all of the members of PTI, they abstain voluntarily and they say that we don't want to be part of it, they can do it? And if they do it, what does the law say about it? Will law sort of, say that it is unlawful not to come to parliament when there is a no confidence motion going on?
I think that should be the strategy of the PTI, because legally speaking, they can do that. As far as the no confidence motion is concerned, that is the primary responsibility of the opposition to prove their number. And that magical number has to be proven by the opposition, not by the government, because it is a no confidence motion, not a confidence motion. So Prime Minister, along with his entire parliamentary party, they can abstain from attending the National Assembly session. And if Prime Minister is able to gather all the required numbers, all the total number of the PTI along with the allied parties, I think then it would be very easy to defeat the motion. But if there are defections, as Arif Saab was pointing out, then defections, once the vote is counted, Prime Minister is deseated. Afterwards, the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister, when the party is out of the power, they can file a reference against the sort of defecting members. But as far as no confidence motion is concerned, that succeeds. So I think Prime Minister will have to make it sure that his own party members do not defect, one. And secondly, the allied parties like Pakistan Muslim League Q, MQM Pakistan, and GDA, they should remain intact as allies, and they are not being swayed away by the opposition parties with their own office as well. And I think they are sitting on the fence. As far as the allies are concerned, they haven't made it very clear that they would be siding with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister went to meet the top MQM leadership in Karachi, and they, appearing in the media, they said that they haven't made up their mind. They were still sitting on the fence, and they can go either way. They have got their own interests, and they are trying to sort of raise the price, and the cost is really mounting for Prime Minister Imran Khan. So I think it's a very, very precarious situation. There are paradoxes and there are certain uncertainties, but I still believe Prime Minister, as Arif Saab pointed out, if he plays cool, calculated, and he follows a certain strategy, I think he can ultimately defeat the motion. But with this state of mind, when he sort of sounds irritated, agitated, and I think he is not following a certain strategy, well cohesive, well-oiled strategy, then I think the PTI is in deep trouble.
Yeah, Arif Chaudhry Saab, which is more important to be counted?
All right, thank you so much, Arif Chaudhry Saab and Javed Javdoon Saab, for joining us in the debate.
Meeting of the assembly.
Yeah. But which one is more important to be counted in the parliament, sir, Arif Chaudhry Saab? Horse trading in the parliament or abstaining from voting inside, sir?
Abstaining from voting would be much better, and that is the only option, because it is the responsibility of those who have filed the motion for no confidence that they have to bring 172, and even if they cannot bring one member less, there are 171, so it is defeated. So the government should focus on taking those people together and taking them away from the assembly, because nobody should come to assembly. Even near the fence, near the,
All right.
in
All
that
right. Thank
area.
you so much, Arif Chaudhry Saab and Javed Jadoon Saab, for joining us today and sharing your views. Thank you so much for being a part of the debate. What, of course, happens in the coming days and months remains to be seen, of course, both internationally and domestically as well. As we've discussed at length, this is what is on the table. These are the options that the government has. This is the current political scenario. And what we can only hope for is, of course, that a saner voice prevails both internationally and locally as well. And we see more political stability for Pakistan and countries around the world. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:05.